I will begin by reading the Indigenous Land Use Statement. We acknowledge the land which we occupy today as the traditional home of the Nisenan, Maidu, and Miwok tribal nations. These sovereign people have been the caretakers of this land since time immemorial. Despite centuries of genocide and occupation, the Nisenan, Maidu, and Miwok continue as vibrant and resilient tribes and bands, both federally recognized and unrecognized. We take this opportunity to acknowledge the generations that have gone before, as well as the present day Nisenan, Maidu, and Miwok. I hereby call this meeting to order at 10:32 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Director Carvalho, if you could begin the roll call.
A pleasure. President Burrows.
Present.
VP Dominique Espinoza.
Present. Thank you.
Director of Communications Carvalho, present. Director of Finance Queen.
Present.
Director of Public Relations Love.
Present.
Director of Legislative Affairs Garcia.
Present.
Senator Ng.
Present.
Oh, okay, there he is.
Senator Nealon. Senator Nealon.
I'm sorry, what did you say? My sound is kind of giving me a hard time. Did you call me?
Senator Nealon.
That's me. Sorry, I'm here.
Oh, perfect. Senator Gorman.
Excused.
Legislative Analyst Villard Birch. Legislative Analyst Villard Birch.
They reached out. They're ill. They sent an email this morning.
All right. CAEB Representative Mark Shepard. CAEB Representative Mark Shepard. Excellent. All right. So of the 11 members we have, it appears to me 8 are present. So a quorum is met.
Thank you, Director Carvalho.
Thank you.
All right, as a matter of consensus, if there are no objections, we will adopt today's agenda. The agenda went out in an email, I believe, Wednesday night. Are there any objections? Hearing and seeing none, we will adopt the agenda. As a matter of consensus, if there are no objections, we will approve the minutes from last week's meeting. The minutes went out in the same email Wednesday evening. Are there any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the minutes are approved. So we will now move on to Chair's message. Hey everyone, we're at the end of week 10. Usually goes pretty quick once we get into November. Thanksgiving holiday usually comes up fast, and then it's about a week and a half out to finals. The class schedule for spring is out. You see applications for next fall open up on Monday, November 1st. So be sure to reach out to the Transfer Center for more information on that. Next Thursday at noon, the FLC Work Experience Coordinator will be holding a resume workshop. So if you missed the Career Center events in October, it's not too late. Later today, Women in STEM is holding a movie viewing in their Discord channel, so be sure to check that out. I understand they're also holding an event next Wednesday that will include a virtual escape room, a costume contest, and raffle. So that sounds like a lot of fun. Earlier this week on Tuesday, ARC Sociology Club met and had a guest speaker. They hosted a critical care nurse from UC Davis Medical Center who discussed the progression of the pandemic, changes in treatment for those who are hospitalized, and also detailed information about the vaccination trials. She spoke about the ongoing problem with misinformation during the pandemic, so you can check that out. I will give you the link in the chat in case you're interested in hearing from that guest speaker. Other than that, speaking of information literacy, next Friday we'll be joined by librarian Sarah Lehman, who will be presenting on credible sources, which is important for everyone, especially decision makers. Last Saturday, the SSCCC Region 2 Delegate Assembly took place. I was able to provide a brief update on recent activities of this board in the last month since the previous Delegate Assembly in September. I'm continuing to hear from student colleagues at SRJC, which is Santa Rosa Junior College, about faculty hiring committees. Unlike ARC, Students at SRJC are prohibited from participating in faculty hiring committees, and they're advocating pretty strongly to change that. So look for them on social media. I understand they're on TikTok and Instagram to get the word out. ARC's Operations Council met Tuesday of this week. There was a little bit of discussion of impacts to campus from recent storms and big discussion on accreditation. Chancellor's Cabinet district-wide met on Monday. There was a big discussion on financial aid services and some changes that are coming there, and then also district-wide accreditation discussion. So it's not just ARC going through this process right now. Next week, executive leadership team will be meeting on Monday, hoping to discuss options for applying for NASA's downlink with ISS Mission 67, which will occur next year. That is all I have for chair's message. We will now move on to advisor's message. Go ahead, Brett.
All right, y'all. Aloha. Happy Friday. Happy Halloween. It's coming up. So be safe this weekend. Have fun, but obviously be safe and get some rest. That's what your body's telling you. So I had a lot of the same things Stacey does, but I did want to touch on one announcement about that other school and the hiring committees. So I put it in the chat, but I believe it's through those shared governance docs that allow you all, this board, to appoint students to those hiring committees. So I can't speak for every school. I just know that your kind of charter for that comes through the shared governance process here at ARC. So just a couple announcements. Stacey mentioned the class schedules are out. I believe they came out Monday. If you haven't taken a look at them, please do. Depending on what enrollment date you have, that's coming here pretty quickly. To be on ground classes, you have to have a cleared status, so vaccinated or approved waiver. You can still take online classes. And I know that the Los Rios College's Instagram account posted something, and I know we reposted it. I could see where someone might say I have to have a cleared status to enroll in any class. By reading that, it's a little confusing. It is my understanding, unless things have changed, that you can still take online classes if you're not vaccinated or have a cleared status. So if that changes, I will definitely let this board know, but that is my understanding as of Friday, 10:39 a.m. Let's see, the class schedules, they are shooting for 30% on ground for spring. Right now in fall, it's 8%. So for those of you that have been on campus, it's kind of a ghost town. It's student athletes, it's theater and music students, and then obviously some STEM classes are going on and some of those hard to convert classes. But the hope is to kind of increase the amount of students on campus for spring, but that's going to depend on how many students actually sign up for those classes that are on ground. So we'll see how that goes. But if you have questions on the schedule, reach out to me. Reminder for this board, you have to have 5 units at ARC in spring to continue on the board. So keep that in mind as you're navigating classes and trying to make it work in your schedule and other commitments. The other thing, just real quick, and we talked about it last week, but I know a few folks were at the Discipline Appeals Committee. Lobby Day is coming up in February, but this board they kind of got exposed to the 4 topics that the Student Advisory Council came up with. Because of the schedule crunch, we're running up on time because November 10th SAC meeting is when they have to narrow it down to 1. So next week, that might be a good agenda item to kind of talk about those. And you can kind of rank them. That way, Mark can take that to the SAC group and say, this is how ARC felt about these 4 topics. Whether there's actual legislation on those 4 or not, we're still trying to figure that out. That's a district-wide process, but I know our Director of Legislative Affairs and our legislative analysts have those topics, and I know we're busy, but if they haven't started, maybe they can kind of look into that soon. The other thing, for those of you that weren't here last week, Academic Senate reached out to me and wanted you all to attend their November 18th meeting. That's a Thursday from 3 to 5. And they wanted to put you all on the agenda to continue that discussion you all had about your experiences being an online student and being on Zoom and synchronous and asynchronous. There was a story in the Current about it, and they reached out and they wanted to continue that conversation. So for those of you that are interested, let either me or Stacey know. It's only for 10 minutes and then kind of a conversation. So it's nothing formal where you have to present something. They just want to chat. So for those of you that are interested, please let us know. And that is all I have. So thank you. This is the time of year where people getting tired. People get sick because, you know, they're grinding and not always eating the best or sleeping the most. So just keep taking care of yourselves. And that's all I have. So Stacey, back to you. Thanks.
All right, and I think we've got a couple of those items on today's agenda, so we may not necessarily take action, but we can at least start that conversation. That'll be helpful. All right, with that, we will move on to public comment. This time is reserved for members of the public to address ASB Senate on issues not already appearing on the agenda. A limit of 2 minutes per speaker shall be observed with a maximum of 4 minutes per topic. No discussion is allotted on public comment. The law does not permit any action to be taken nor extended discussion of any items not on the agenda. The ASB Senate may briefly respond to statements made for questions posed. However, for further information, please contact the ASB Senate President for the item of discussion to be placed on a future agenda. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a comment at this time? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will now move on to appointments and swearing in. I see on the agenda, I did not designate any time for this week, although if I may mention quickly, one that did come up recently was the Affordable Learning Materials Committee. So if you're interested in advocating for increased access to higher learning, if you're interested in open source projects like computer science or library science, their schedule for November is the 4th and the 16th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. But then they'll be returning to their regular schedule in the spring of every first and third Thursday at 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. So if you're interested in serving on Affordable Learning Materials Committee, please let me know. All right, and we will now move on to unfinished business. Is there a motion for item 9.1?
I motion to discuss item 9.1 ASB Senate office hours.
With the motion made, is there a second?
I second.
All right, with the motion made and seconded, we've been talking about office hours a little bit recently. Technically, Colton, since you made the motion, if you want to start the discussion, that is your privilege.
Sure. So have we gotten any closer to conclusion as to what office hour or what mediums we want to use for our office hours and the like?
So that is completely open to the board. Recently, President Shepherd has talked about maybe drafting a bill for Google Suites, although he's not present today, and I'm not sure where he is on that bill writing. So this is open for discussion for anyone on the board. If you have questions, ideas, comments, things that have come up recently have been kind of the pros and cons of Zoom versus Discord. And so again, whether we take action on this today or we continue to contribute ideas and feedback on maybe new thoughts that have occurred about what might be better than, you know, some other option, that's open now. Molly, go ahead.
I'm so sorry, but I'm kind of having a hard time hearing people.
Okay. Let's see. How's everyone else's audio? Can I get a quick signal, like thumbs up if you're good, and please say something if you're not. Okay. Molly, it looks like it might be on your end because I'm getting a thumbs up from everybody.
No worries. I'll make it work. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry. I know how frustrating technical things can be in this time when it's so limiting based on that. I was just checking the chat. So any discussion on, on whether virtual office hours, I almost said Zoom office hours, virtual office hours, whether we hold them on Zoom or Discord or however you guys want to do that. That's at the discretion of the board.
Chair?
Recognized, go ahead.
Yes. I'm okay with anything that's works for me. I have no preference, but of course, if we want to use our funds for that, no problem. I do like the idea of what MESA does, where they do check in on the chit chat. I know that will be a problem when it comes to confidentiality and just having a little bit more of a private space to speak. If there's multiple people or students that want to have a conversation with one of us, but I still think having that option would be great. I'm not sure how like I said, we're discussing it right now, but how quickly we want to come with a decision on what we want to do. Because if we kind of keep on tabling it for the next one, pretty soon here we're going to be done with fall semester, which again, don't mind. It seems like things are pretty slow anyways. Just putting that out there, really open.
Thank you for that, Director Garcia. And those are excellent points, both about where we're getting in the semester if we keep tabling it. And again, I don't want to, try to force or pressure a decision, but that is a good point. And then also about MESA has an awesome system where their tutors check in on Discord, and that's a very open kind of fluid format. At the same time, it's good to point out there could be confidentiality issues there. Molly, I see your hand. Go ahead.
I agree that we should get going with office hours and maybe give it a try and learn from what works and what doesn't work. So maybe we'll just start, and if it doesn't work, we'll change it.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Chair,
Recognized.
we also don't want to be too inconsistent. I think it's important that we don't rush the conversation just to start anything at any point. I think it's vital that we just find something that we think will work for this semester. If we want to change it for the next semester, maybe that can be one thing, but not just go, changing things when people are getting, comfortable with them.
Consistency of communication is also a good point. So I do want to encourage that if we want to pilot something for the rest of the semester, that makes sense. Director Fagan brings a very good point that if we change it up after a couple weeks, that may be confusing to students who are just trying to find access at all. Good point.
Chair,
Recognized.
I just want to add on to Discord. Well, I do agree that Discord might be a good option to try out. Something that I've experienced as a tutor on Discord or someone just in that position is that sometimes students will private message you, even if it's not your office hours or something like that. So that might be something we have to consider if we are doing Discord.
Another excellent point. Thank you for that, Senator. So yeah, if you don't want kind of outside of office hours messages, that could definitely be a concern. If we're holding office hours during Zoom, then it would be more restricted to sending messages to your Senate email address and kind of having that regular mode of communication in line. Yeah.
Sure.
Recognized.
May I reintroduce my Zoom idea? Just
If you'd
because we
like.
haven't talked about it.
If you'd like to make a motion or just discuss it, either way, yeah.
Just discuss it and then we can go further later. If we did it on Zoom, we could all have access to the ASB Zoom account. There could be one link on the ASB website or the ASB Instagram. Students, all they'd have to do was look at who will be on the Zoom link at what time. They'll click it. It can be in a centralized location. We don't have to worry about messages outside of our office hours because we're only on the link between the hours that we said we're going to be on the link. Everyone knows Zoom at this point. There won't be any technical difficulties of people being like, oh, I don't have Discord, or I don't know what, Z Suites is. Everyone knows Zoom. Everyone's on Zoom. And it would also tackle the problem of this is my office hour only.
That makes sense. Thank you for that.
Chair,
Recognized.
I would like for us to have office hours every day. I think it would be nice if we had them kind of maybe aligned with not tutoring hours, but tutoring days. So tutoring's going on every day but Sunday on campus. So I mean Saturday, excuse me. And since I think there might be enough of us, maybe we could have two people per day, but my hope is that every day there's someone. So that's the main thing. Also, I do not want to use Discord like at all. So that's my idea. Thank you.
Thank you for that. No, that's important feedback, both about the consistency of regular availability on like a daily basis. That's an excellent goal. And then, yeah, if some board members have concerns with Discord, I hope everyone is open to listening to that. Are there any further discussions, comments, questions? And the floor is open for motions, either to table it or to take action.
Chair,
Recognized.
I would also like to say about Discord, just I started using Discord probably let's see, in 2015 or 2014. Discord's not safe. It's not a secure server. So basically, if you open a DM from some rando on Discord, you can get hacked, and it's not. That's why HTTPS is not safe. It's not a secure server. So I highly discourage that. Thank you. That's all.
That makes sense.
Should we have like a discussion on what day we would like to do office hours?
That's at the discretion of the board. If you want to talk schedule availability now, otherwise it's the kind of thing that I could probably send out a poll for everyone to feedback when they would be available. For the most part, what we need to decide is the medium, if we're to decide that today.
Chair,
Recognized.
am I able to make comments on somebody else's suggestion or no?
Sure, try to speak through the chair by addressing me, but it's completely acceptable to address the concerns raised. Yeah.
All right. For having somebody available every single day for the office hours, are you saying the same individuals every single day, or are you saying what we have for our current resources every single day? Like if we have 11 people that we can have host office hours, we have 1 or 2 people every single day hosting an office hour during that day, or are you saying the same people hosting an office hour for an hour every single day? Because I was a little bit confused on that one.
Dominique, would you like to clarify?
Yeah, thanks. I think that just somebody every day. I don't think it needs to be the same people. And I think not Saturday, because that's like everyone's free day. I just thought because like tutoring hours are Sunday through Friday, then it's just having like support services available on campus for students consistent with like Sunday through Friday. And so I don't think the same people should be doing it though. Maybe just like through a poll, we can see who fits what time. And if there's like time gaps, maybe Stacey could just ask, is anyone available on these times? Or maybe those will just be times where there's nobody available. But I don't think it should be like something we're too stressed out about. But I do think that we should be probably just getting our own Zoom account for this, that we should pay with our own funds that goes forward for all of the ASB ARC after us. They have their own Zoom for their own office hours that's paid for through the student. So it's not so technically confusing, and it could be kind of like just easier for the next year or two. Thank you.
Sure.
Recognized.
Am I under the incorrect impression that we already have this ASB ARC Zoom and that's what you use usually during these meetings?
That's correct. Although I'm not sure if Dominique meant one for each member of the board or a shared account. Dominique, would you like to clarify?
I think maybe a shared account that's just for office hours.
Okay.
That and so maybe sorry, it could be like a connected to one email that all students can funnel their grievances or concerns to, that maybe we could put on our agendas, something like that. So it's just some kind of like a one-stop kind of a situation. It's something that's not overly complicated, because this is separate. This is a separate Zoom meeting for us here now. So I don't think it should be the same account, and it should be just access for that. That way also to keep traffic kind of control as well.
That
Sure.
makes sense, because if someone wants to hold office hours at the same time that say CAEB is meeting, that could come up because they share the same account, CAEB and Senate. Molly, I see your hand, and then Sydney will go to you. Molly, go ahead.
My only concern about a shared account is that where would we know if people sign up for, like, someone can come to your office hours, but they would like to talk to you another time, then you won't be able to do that. So is there going to be like a site where we're going to put in like reservation line? So that would be my only concern about a shared account, is then we would have to have some way of reserving the slot. So you're not having a conversation and then someone else decides that they would like to use the same time slot. So how would the reservation work?
That makes sense. So normally I would suggest something like creating a Canvas shell and Tech Connect Zoom, but then that would require that all of the students have access to that Canvas shell for Senate. And so I don't think that's very practical. I think in general, we could probably create a link for office hours like we do for this meeting, where it's the same every week. And it could be made available on the ARC website with the schedule. In terms of requesting appointments, we could put up the email address associated with this account. And also there's a page that should have all of our addresses on it so that students could contact to set up an individual appointment outside of those regular offerings, with the understanding that it would be, at the convenience of the schedules for everyone on the board, that, you can't miss class to meet with them, that kind of thing, that you may not be able to accommodate completely.
Chair, so if you do find a time slot, how do you reserve the Zoom link if it's a shared Zoom link?
So that would be more of an issue of board members not holding office hours at the same time. But that would also be a concern if we were holding office hours in person, where there could only be one person physically in the office to receive constituents at a time.
So we would have like there would be like a reservation line available to the board members.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by reservation line. Maybe I'm confused.
So let's say if I wanted to see a time slot was available on Zoom, how would I do that if it's a shared line for everyone?
So I think what would happen there would be a schedule for all of us up on the ARC website, and anytime someone was in the office, you could click that link and whoever was on the schedule would be at that link.
So we would only be able to meet during that 1 hour we picked, like mine is Sunday from 11 to 12. That's the time I submitted in the beginning of the semester. So that's the only time I could possibly be available. That would be kind of difficult for some folks, because some folks may have commitments on Sundays. So that's the only thing I see that would be kind of not very helpful, is it really tied into just one time slot, because you cannot select other times to meet with your constituents.
That makes sense. So that would be at the discretion of the board constitutionally, or it may be in the bylaws. I think we're only required to provide one office hour a week. If you want to try to be more accommodating and receive emails from constituents to schedule additional meetings, that's completely up to you. If your schedule is too limiting and you do not have that time available to just spontaneously make appointments upon request, that's also completely understandable.
Chair?
Recognized.
I wanted to also kind of respond to like the idea that like, oh man, I'm losing my thought. Oh, I lost it. This is so embarrassing.
No worries. It happens.
What was I gonna say? Okay, come back to me. It's gone.
No problem. All right. Yeah, actually very relatable problem right now, Sydney, so don't feel bad.
I got it.
Happens to the best of us.
It does.
I got it back.
Recognized. Go ahead, Sydney.
The concern that if we share this account that we all currently have, that it could run into problems with like the CAEB meeting or JBC, but I feel like it's very easily solved with no one does an office hour during the other meetings. Like we keep them on the separate days. Both me and Director Quinn have already decided that we wanted a Friday office hour, but mine's before the meeting, hers is after the meeting by like a wide enough margin. I feel like that's something we could easily work around without having to complicate it and add another official ASB email. I feel like that can get a little confusing.
That makes sense. Brianna, I see your hand. Go ahead.
I think also if it just so happens that two senators have office hours at the same time, what we can just do is wait in the main room, and then if anyone were to come in and want to meet with anyone, and you want to do it separately, you can just open up a separate breakout room and then move into there. So long as it just depends. That would just mean that only one person could actually be on the main account, but it's easy enough to give someone else the same power to where they can open breakout rooms on their own. And then even if you were the one on the main account, you can still leave a meeting and leave it open for everyone else. You don't necessarily have to be the one running the meeting. Because even then, let's say, for example, if you were available, Stacey, each time we were having office hours, you could open the room and then leave. And so no one would necessarily like have the account, but the meeting room would just be open. So yeah, that was my thought.
That makes sense. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's always possible if people wanted to hold office hours simultaneously that we could use the breakout rooms.
Chair?
Recognized.
I definitely would be interested in coming to a conclusion on this definitely soon, because I can see the problem of continuing to table this issue because we can do that practically forever. But I think CAEB Representative Mark Shepard would be a very insightful person when it comes to this, since he's been recently working on something for this. Unfortunately, he's not here right now, but it's just to say just a little longer kind of thing.
That makes sense. Yeah. The floor is open for motions or further discussion either way.
Sure.
Recognized.
I don't want to seem like I'm coming off like, oh, I don't care what Mark has to say, but I am also highly interested in getting this over and starting these office hours as soon as possible. I wish that he already had, that presentation done. And I think that if we come to a decision today, we could use it for the rest of the semester and give Shepard the time to maybe have that presentation or have that idea ready for the next semester. I think it's important that we just start doing it whenever we can. We're like halfway through the semester now. We should have something open up soon.
That makes sense. And I appreciate both of you representing, kind of the pros and cons of acting now versus not acting now. So that's important for everyone to consider. Thank you both.
Chair,
Recognized.
can I make a motion to create the poll to start the schedule for the office hours so we can start coordinating the schedules, the times?
The floor is open for motions. Did you want to move for Zoom, given what you said about Discord, a poll for Zoom?
Yes, a poll for Zoom office hours that we could all just put in. If you could create a poll maybe, and then everyone could just put in, like whatever your best time is, like how they do it, how people do that. I've never created one. But yeah, I think that will help Sydney and all of us, and then Mark could see that and he'll get the hint, and then we can get it moving. It sounds like a lot of people have the days picked out that they want, and I do. So that is all. Thank you.
All right, with the motion made, is there a second?
Second.
All right, with the motion made and seconded, I can put out a poll to request everyone's preferred Zoom hours. This is not necessarily a motion to use Zoom right away. So y'all still need to decide on that, and we may need to call the question in terms of hold a vote on whether or not to do it. I'm not sure that we can just do that with a motion in a second.
Chair,
Recognized.
I think you can.
Yeah.
Roll call votes typically are when money's involved, or like resolutions, or voting on lobby day and stuff like that. But I think you can do that, and if someone objects to Zoom, then you can have that conversation and then do a roll call vote. But you could start off with if there are no objections.
Sounds good. All right. So are there any objections to the poll for Zoom and holding via Zoom?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I'm just checking to see if there are any objections for discussion. Otherwise, we're going to carry your motion. All right, seeing and hearing none, I will be creating that poll today to send out to everyone on the board about when would be best to hold the Zoom office hours for each of us. And then we will hopefully get that implemented in the next, if not in time for next week, because I want to give all of you time to respond. Hopefully by the second week of November, we should be holding Zoom office hours.
Sure.
Recognized.
Does that mean we agreed on deciding Zoom?
We did, and that is why I tried to leave that good pause for if there were any objections.
No. I agree. I'm just making sure because I couldn't tell with the motion.
No, I understand. I apologize for lack of clarity. So that's on me. All right. So from there, we will now move on to new business. Is there a motion for item 10.1?
I motion to discuss 10.1 academic senate meeting discussion.
All right, with the motion made, is there a second?
I second it.
All right, with the motion made and seconded, before I go back to Colton, Brett, really quick, I wanted to clarify, this was for an academic senate meeting coming up on the, is that 18th?
Correct.
Okay.
And
So go ahead.
oh, sorry. It's from 3 to 5, but you're not required to be there all 2 hours. It's just kind of like item 10.1 on your agenda, right? And you would show up for that piece. So I couldn't tell you exactly what time you start and what time you finish, but once you all would finish meeting with them, you don't have to stay for the whole meeting. So hope that helps.
All right, so going back to Colton, it's up to you if you want to start this discussion. This pertains to kind of student concerns that we held a couple weeks ago, a discussion on regarding classes being held virtually. This was initially brought forward by Senator Nealon, by Molly, and then also Director Garcia by Silvia. So if you want to defer to either of them to start the discussion, otherwise the privilege is yours.
And it's discussing the academic senate meeting coming up, not the contents of it, right?
Sort of both. I mean, in terms of who wants to attend that meeting, anything about that really at all.
Well, do either one of them want to take the floor? Because I'll continue if not.
Please move forward. I like to hear what you have to say, so I'm okay with you taking the floor.
Go for
Right.
it, Colton.
So who do we want to attend this meeting, and how many of us do we want there, and how many of us do we need to convey whatever story we're trying to tell to them? I mean, it's not a story, more of a collection of experiences and the like, but a story nonetheless.
That's a good question. So it sounds like, Brett, if there's kind of a limit of 10 minutes, that's, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's ungracious or anything like that. It's very gracious of them to invite us to be there. But with a limit of 10 minutes, keeping that in mind, what would be appropriate in terms of turnout?
Good question. Honestly, I wouldn't want to be in a position to say, we already have this number, that's it, right? Because I think they need to hear your experiences. So as many people want to go, I would encourage to. And we'll probably need someone to kind of be kind of the point person, the main representative, but everyone should share kind of their narratives. And they did mention they wanted to have a discussion. So they want to kind of ask questions. So even if you don't kind of like present there's a Q&A where they might then say, you know, Colton, Brianna, you know, whoever is there, tell us about this or whatever the case may be. So I wouldn't say to put a number on it.
That makes sense. So it sounds like maybe trying to streamline the discussion a little bit, maybe having a bit of a planning meeting in advance. And if we need to put this on a future agenda to have that planning, or if we need to hold a separate meeting, kind of a special meeting to plan that, we could do that. We would just need to post the agenda consistent with the Brown Act and all of that 72 hours in advance and make it publicly available.
That would be perfect. Getting to talk more on this, however, if you, oh, sure.
Oh, go ahead. You're good.
And just for future reference, if I'm leading the discussion, do I need to get your acknowledgement on it, or am I good to just talk when there's silence?
As much as possible, try to move through the chair just so there's not a collision, but go ahead.
All right. I think some good things for us to organize for our presentation would be something along the lines of student concerns, professor concerns, and concerns regarding the campus. Because as we heard from the last meeting, there were concerns involving both professors and students. And some of those I don't think people have heard here before or have seen it happen.
Understandable.
Either for one reason or another.
That makes sense.
Chair.
Recognized.
Yeah, there's I would definitely be interested in attending that meeting. There's another thing that came up. Was it this week? Yeah, earlier this week I had a meeting with my EOPNS counselor. Maybe I did not know this because I've been really, really busy, but I personally do not care. I just feel like it was a shock to me when my counselor, and again, I'm fully okay disclosing this, but my counselor was able to see if I was vaccinated, not vaccinated, or if my waiver was denied. I thought that was very interesting. Of course, I do know what's happening within campus. I just thought that was just different. You know, it's kind of like saying, you know, Chair Stacey, you have, you know, you don't have, let's just say, hepatitis B vaccine. So now anyone that I come across within having a counseling meeting, I'm assuming have access to view that kind of information. So again, I don't care, you know, I don't care. The fact is, the thing that I don't like is it is happening, and it's creating some sort of segregation in a sense. I don't know exactly what I'm saying at this, but I was just kind of like mind blown. I was like, oh yeah, another way, you know, like, do you plan on taking classes next semester? And I'm like, yeah, I am. How come? Like, oh, just because it's, you know, I see that your waiver was denied here, your request was denied. And I just was surprised to hear that, you know, that the counselors now have access, if I'm correct, to view this kind of information. And of course, it makes sense. You want to help your students, you know, to see what's best for them, you know, in their situation. But I thought that was just new to me. I didn't know if anyone else knows about this, but yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. And I personally did not know that counselors had access to that information, although I'm not sure if counselors are part of faculty. So I know that, for example, your faculty, your instructors in the classroom do have that information. And I've heard them kind of reaching out to students about clarifying. And sometimes it's whether or not there was, I don't know how to say this, not like a denied request, but like an administrative problem with clearing them, like the image didn't upload properly to e-services, and so they're trying to get a hold of the student to get another copy of the image, that kind of thing. So I know those conversations have been happening, but I personally was not aware about counseling. That would catch me off guard too. That's very surprising. That's not, you know, what you're there for, right? All right,
Chair?
Molly,
sorry.
I see your hand. Go ahead.
Chair, would you mind giving me a quick summary of what is the goal of going to the Academic Senate? Because it sounds like there are multiple issues that I'm not aware of. Would you mind kind of just giving me a quick update? What problem what problem or problems are we to address in that 10 minutes?
Got it. So I think this came out of the issue that you initially raised, Molly, when you were talking about kind of asynchronous classes that have no lecture. And then that sort of became a whole conversation we had at this board. And then Academic Senate has since learned of that conversation, in part because there was an article published in the ARC Current, which is a student newspaper. And so that's precipitated an invitation for us to appear before the Academic Senate in a formal discussion on that issue. Director Garcia just raised an issue of recently attending a counseling appointment and being surprised at who had access to the current vaccine policy information on individual students, and just kind of, it sounds like, concerned about who does have access to that information. Is that something that students can expect to be just kind of randomly brought up when they have discussions with administration in general, and whether or not that falls under the purview of Academic Senate? Does that make sense?
Yes, I was aware of the issue that I brought up, but are there any other issues that we were planning on discussing? Because 10 minutes is not a lot of time. And so that's are there any other issues, or is it just the issue of the marking classes when they are asynchronous and they will not have lectures? That's what I wrote to that's what I've been emailing folks about, is because that's the problem that was brought up to me, was that students sign up for classes not realizing that there are no directions or lectures, and there's no way to tell that on the course catalog, on the course schedule, because by the time they realize there's no lecture, when they get the agenda, it's too late and all the classes are full. So if we can just let them know in advance, then that would be a non-issue. And I know I've gotten quite a few emails and quite a few conversations about how some students find it really, really hard to stay in a class without lecture. So that is certainly something that would be wonderful if the Academic Senate hears about. But are there any other issues that or is that the only issue?
As far as I know, that's the main issue. The concern that Director Garcia just raised may be something for public comment, because I believe they can answer questions and then decide whether or not they would hold an agenda item for that later on. Although they may just be able to answer Director Garcia's question during public comment, I'm not sure.
Chair, may I make a comment about that? As I understand, everyone has access to whether you're vaccinated or not, because you would have to show that you can access the campus. I had to stop by the campus the other day for ALMC, and I had to prove that I was vaccinated. And it was just an office worker who asked me for my vaccination record. I'm not quite clear on that policy, because I showed them so I can have access to the building. But I believe everyone has access to that information. Everyone on campus has access to that information, because that determines whether you have access to the physical campus or not.
Brett, I'm going to defer to you to help answer this question, because personally I'm a staff member and I do not have access to that information. So I know when you show up on campus, you check in through a tent and there's somebody sitting there at a database computer, but I think it's specific to people who are stationed at those databases. Is that correct?
Yeah, so through PeopleSoft, or what's called SARS, when you enter the LRC and the Welcome and Support Center, they do ask for your ID number to make sure you're cleared or vaccinated or whatever the case may be. As far like the STEM building, they're not asking, because it's on the faculty to kind of make sure that everyone in the class has been approved or cleared, or whatever terminology you want to use. I could foresee a counselor asking. They should have access to it, but I could foresee a counselor asking only because they're trying to help build out a schedule, and they need to know, for spring, can you be on ground or not? you know, everyone kind of approaches this different because this is all new to everyone, staff, faculty. Personally, if it's a front counter interaction and I have to check, then obviously I will. But other than that, I don't really ask. I got enough stuff to worry about right now. So as long as they're clear to enter a building, then that's really what I do. But everyone is in a unique situation and the roles are different and different jobs. I'm rambling, but I personally have access to see who is cleared or not cleared. And that's just in my role as a supervisor, not in your as me as an advisor, just for all the other stuff I have to do.
Thank you for that answer, Brett. And I wanted to acknowledge, I'm sorry, PP, it took me a minute to get around to everybody. I wanted to give Brett a chance to answer that question, but Dominique said in the chat that it may be that counselors have access to information pertaining to students' overall health, mental health. You can request a counseling appointment specifically for support, not just academic advising. So that may be true. I don't actually know the answer to that. Nathan, I see your hand. Go ahead.
I completely agree with the issue about the asynchronous classes and all of that, and this is more of a specific question to me, but I'm actually taking an asynchronous biology course, and I've had a conversation like this with my professor, and I also know that the professor is on the academic senate, and he knows me by name. Is in this board's opinion, is that going to be a sort of conflict or anything like that? I understand this is more of a personal question.
I'm not sure I completely understand your question. So you mean conflict because your professor serves on the academic senate?
And I have a lot of concerns and potential complaints about the way certain asynchronous classes have been running. For example, the class he's currently running that I'm participating in right now, that I'm going to be graded on.
No, I completely understand. I had a concern with a class I was taking last spring. I went to academic senate to ask a question during public comment. And when I saw my professor was on the board, I did not say anything. So that is not advice from me to you. That is me saying that I relate to your concern because as a new senator, I was not sure, and I am still not entirely sure in terms of what the outcomes of this discussion may be. In general, I think faculty are bound to kind of maintain professionalism and keep their roles separate between, you know, their classroom and their Senate service. But I do understand your concern and your hesitancy there. Brett, do you have anything you want to add?
I think you nailed it. I think that faculty, just like you all, would keep that professional and would not like retaliate or anything like that. But I understand the conflict and the kind of fear. That makes perfect sense. So Nathan, we could chat offline about that, about, you know, how you want to pursue that. But I think academic senate as a whole would not then turn around and do anything malicious or anything. So that's just what I think, but I totally get that. So that's a valid concern.
Chair.
Recognized.
All right, thank you both Brett and you, Chair, for addressing my concerns. I'm still interested in going, but that was a concern of mine going forward. Was I do want to voice some concerns, not just about his specific class, but just in general. And so I just want to clear that up though before I decide to move forward. I think I'm still interested in going though.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Colton, hold on just a second. I'll get to you in just a sec. Molly, go ahead. I see your hand. Molly, you're muted, but you have the floor. All right, real quick, we'll go to Brianna. Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to state that one, I'm also interested in going, and then for any students who have like confidentiality concerns, I'd be like more than willing to read an anonymous statement from them. And so if we do move forward with planning for this, I think it would be nice for us as senators to go out and talk to our constituents and students to see if they have any perspectives that they want us to share for them during that meeting.
That's an excellent idea, both in terms of speaking to constituents before appearing before the academic senate. And then I also just wanted to thank you for your offer to read anonymous statements. That is very helpful. All right,
Chair.
let's see if we can go to Molly. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm having all kinds of technical problems today.
Sorry.
I'm going to New York for a performance from the 18th to the 25th. It's going to be incredible. I've never been to New York during Thanksgiving Day parade, so I'm very excited. But unfortunately, the 18th is my travel day. So I may not be available, I don't know the flight plans yet because I'm not making those travel plans. So I may not be available to represent, but I feel this is a very important issue because I've had so many conversations. It started from one conversation and it grew, and it was like, it caught on fire. So I think it's a really important issue. I don't think we're asking the faculty, it's not a confrontational issue, it's just an information gathering issue. So I think this is not something that we should be concerned about bringing to our faculty and academic senate, because all we're asking is tools to be most successful. And I know that every instructor and professor at ARC wants us to be successful. And the students who have trouble with no lecture are students who have disabilities, students who learn in auditory format. So we just want to provide the correct information to the students so they can be successful and stay in the class. So it's good for the instructors, it's good for the student. So it's the way I look at it, it's a win-win situation. Unfortunately, I'm extremely disappointed that November 18th I'm not sure if I will be available. I would be happy to pass along the concerns that the students have given me. I've had, I would say, probably over 20 conversations on this topic and multiple emails I've sent out to staff, as well as I had, conversations with professors and to the ALMC when I was involved with that. I've had multiple conversations on this. So I think it's really incredible that they're going to hear us. I'm just disappointed that I may not be available. And I really don't believe the faculty would see this as a negative thing. I think this is providing tools to folks to be successful, and that's what we all want. We all want the students to succeed. The ARC is here to help the students succeed. So I see this as a very, very positive thing that we're moving forward. It's just marking the courses correctly so the students who cannot succeed in that class don't pick it. That's it. So that's it. And I'm really would be delighted to help anyone prepare for this meeting if I'm not able to attend.
Thank you for that, Molly. Thank you for your diligence on bringing the student concern forward. I know it's important to a lot of students. And also congratulations on your group performance and good luck with that. Colton, I see your hand. Go ahead.
I believe as long as we are honest and true in our intent and what we're saying is either an actual student concern or has happened to us or the like, anecdotal or not, I think we have a very strong argument. Although we do need to mind, we only have about 10 minutes to speak, you said?
Correct.
Which is about 1,300 words. So about 5 or so, maybe 6 pages of notes we can take in terms of what we can bring up. So just for us to be diligent about what should we put within those 1,300 words.
That's a good point. And I appreciate you either knowing or Googling, what that word count would be in terms of how much you can get through. So that's a 4 to 5 page paper, folks. And if you speed talk like I do, you could maybe get a little more in there. But yeah, good point. Brianna, go ahead.
I was just wondering if we were to run out of time or prepare more than there is time for during at least that 10-minute session, couldn't we also just take advantage of public comment and share stories during that portion of it?
You
Or would
can,
that be
although
uncalled for?
you potentially could, although you may be limited, like such as our board limits 2 minutes per speaker, 4 minutes per topic. So that means 2 speakers could take the full time and then it's over, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Brett,
yeah. Okay.
Brett, I see your hand. Go ahead. Did you want to answer that?
Yeah, I think Academic Senate reached out to you all through me. I think if you compile kind of your narratives, your experiences, your stories, however you want to frame that, and you find it's going to take longer than 10, I think they'll be willing to work and say, hey, we can give you 20, 25, I don't think they're going to say time's up, goodbye, thanks for coming. They want to hear from you. This is not a thanks for coming type thing. They really want to hear and work with you. The reason why they asked for it earlier is so that they can prepare syllabi, course outlines, course schedules, whatever for spring. So if they did it in December, they wouldn't have enough time to really turn that around. So this is a, how do I say this? This is a learning experience for everyone. But they really do, they truly, like when I met with them, they truly want to work with you on this. This is not a thanks for coming conversation. So if you find it's going to take longer, then let me know so I can let them know, or Stacey can reach out to them, and I'm sure they'll make sure that all the concerns are heard and discussed.
Thank you for that, Brett. All right, any other comments or discussion on this item?
Sure.
Colton, go ahead. I heard you first.
So when it comes to discussing what we're going to put on this paper or the like for our speech, because we're finding it seems like it would be an excellent idea and would definitely make us look much more professional than if we just go on a tangent or the like of what we're experiencing at the moment. Are we able just to schedule meetings informally to talk about this, or can we not talk about it because it's up and coming, or how do we go about that? I don't know if the Brown Act applies to this.
The Brown Act applies anytime. I believe it's more than half of the board or several members of the board would be meeting to discuss something. And so if several of us are going to appear, then yeah, we would potentially need to create an agenda and post it 72 hours in advance and be publicly available so that members of the public could come and contribute public comment and all the things we do in a normal meeting kind of thing. Did that fully answer your question? I'm not sure I captured all of that.
Sure.
Go ahead, Colton.
So what you're saying is if more than half of us were to appear, 6, we would have to post an agenda 72 hours in advance. However, if we were to meet with less people, not to be malicious or anything, we could just meet at any time. Like if we wanted to meet right after this meeting, we could do that if it was just informal. Or no, my misunderstanding.
Informal discussion and planning is usually okay. Like, for example, 2 or 3 senators get together to draft a bill or to organize a presentation. That kind of thing is okay. When you get into a majority of the board, that is where it gets complicated, because then you're kind of you're meeting without the public knowing what's going on, and that could represent conspiring to vote or something like that, and that is illegal.
Chair.
Brett,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Just to clarify on that too, I can't remember the exact Brown Act number. My advice would be you don't need to form a committee for this. You're all students, you all have your experiences, you all heard from students. If there's 3 or 4 of you that want to meet, you don't need to post an agenda for it. You're not taking, you're not passing any bills, you're not passing any resolutions. It's just sharing your experiences and compiling it. So that would be my advice on how to proceed. So if you wanted to meet today or Monday or whatever, I think that's totally fine. It's only if you started to draft a resolution, then you would have to form a committee or, post agendas and whatnot. So hope that helps.
Thank you, Brett. That makes perfect sense. Molly, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Oops, sorry. This technical thing today. I really appreciate what Colton said. I am 100% agree with him. I think 10 minutes is plenty of time if we're only addressing this issue. I think we should have one person be the key speaker and maybe a couple of people to just be there for moral support. But I think we should be brief because Academic Senate, they have a lot going on. We should be just on point, non-confrontational, and extremely positive. I think 10 minutes is plenty time, but I do agree with Colton that we should have one speaker who's well-versed in the topic. The second thing I wanted to point out was that several people were quite concerned about bringing this issue to me, and they wanted to be kept confidential. They specifically did not want to email me because they didn't want their emails forwarded to anybody or be on paper because they were concerned about their grade being affected. So because of that, I would really rather if we did not have public discussions where name of the people had to be revealed, because that would be unfortunate if someone comes to me with a private conversation. I feel like we have to protect the students who are experiencing this and are kind of dredging through. And so that is that I do think we should keep the folks who are complaining about this confidential. Like I said, personally, I have a class that has no lectures and I love it because I don't have to watch the lectures. So for me, it works out great. It's a English writing 480 and I have it with Dr. Bradley and I love it. I love not having to do that because there's so much reading in that class and added lecture, but there are students who really need it. Like Psych 300, apparently quite a few teachers are not doing lectures. And that would be a really tough course to take without lectures if you've never had psychology before. So in that sense, I do think we have to keep the privacy issue and maybe perhaps do something so name of folks stays off the record. And whoever decides to do that, I would be delighted to meet with them and give them all the information privately.
Thank you for that, Molly. It's really important to raise that issue of student confidentiality. So really quick, if we can get a quick show of virtual hands, if you could use the Zoom raise hand feature, which is under reactions. If everyone who is interested in appearing before Academic Senate or collaborating on this could please raise their hand at this time, we can get a quick count. And I realize not everyone is present here today. All right, so I'm seeing 6 of you. Thank you so much. You may lower your hands. Otherwise, I'm gonna start calling on you to talk.
Sure.
Go ahead, Colton.
When it comes to us presenting on this topic, it is 10 minutes of us. We can talk uninterrupted by anyone. And if they do try to interrupt us on anything, we can say we're not done or the like, and we can continue forward.
I think it's more of a discussion format the way we're having right now. So you would probably be addressing the Academic Senate chair and sharing your comments, and they might ask questions back. They may provide information or answers to questions. That's an excellent question. Brett, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I think you nailed it. It's a dialogue. It's a discussion. So it's formal because it's an agenda item, but it's not like on the chair and you will, it's not like that. So yeah, Stacey, you got it right.
All right. Nathan, your hand is still up. Did you want to say something?
No, my apologies. I forgot to put it down.
No worries. Okay. Any other discussion on this item today?
Sure.
Recognized.
I would be very interested in getting together with everyone who raised their hands and discussing further on this topic. Will we have to post an agenda on that since it's a little bit more than half of the people? Or, oh, Brett's saying no.
It sounds like not, since there's no resolution involved, and there's also the issue of confidentiality, kind of collating the different student concerns that are both on the board and off the board. That will not be required. So what I can do is, if a couple of you can hang back after the meeting, well, actually, you know what? We could probably send out a doodle poll, a schedule poll, to see when everyone would be available to chat about that. I understand some of you might have obligations immediately following this meeting and can't necessarily stay. All right, so yeah, I will get a schedule poll out and we will see what works for everyone. Any other discussion on this before we move on?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Comment. Thank you all for your input and for your time. Really.
Agreed. Thank you so much, everyone, for having this really pretty robust conversation. I know it's a follow-up item from a previous discussion, but it's important that we bring constituents' concerns forward to the Senate on their behalf. All right, seeing and hearing no other comment, we will move on to item 10.2. Is there a motion?
I motion to discuss 10.2 lobby day topic discussion.
All right, with the motion made, is there a second?
Second.
All right, with the motion made and seconded, the lobby day topics were shared at a meeting last week by our advisor. Really quick, I'm going to open my email and just review what those are. And I realize that the legislative analyst and director of legislative affairs have both been very busy in the last week and probably have not gotten into, current legislation or anything like that. But I just wanted to review the topics again. Increasing aid and tutoring for entry-level classes. This is an expansion on previous bill AB 705. Use of advocacy funds to assist with basic needs for community college students. So as many of you know, we've kind of been challenged by trying to spend our advocacy funds because of constraints with gifting public money to the, just gifting public money in general. Which of course we don't want to be doing, but we do want to make sure that our advocacy funds are benefiting student in their time of need. And so finding ways to work within the constraints of the law and uphold the law, but also make sure that students are getting the help that they need. So again, use of advocacy funds to assist with basic needs. Decreasing the digital divide. So increasing internet and technology for any disproportionately impacted or marginalized populations within our constituency. This is usually things like providing tech access, providing different benefits like internet connectivity. I think there was a program last year, maybe earlier this year, to give vouchers out for free internet, things like that. So that can be another issue that would be helpful at this time for students. And then also housing, resources for students who are facing homelessness or other housing challenges, kind of consistency and stability, just making sure that students have what they need to be successful in their education. Really quick, run those down again. Increasing aid and tutoring for entry-level classes, use of advocacy funds to assist with basic needs, combating the digital divide, increasing internet and technology access, and then resources for housing. So those are the issues for everyone to just kind of start considering. If you want to hold a brief discussion, I know we're sort of running out of time here, but if anyone would like to add any comments, pros or cons to working on this or that, please do bring that forward now. Questions also welcome.
Chair,
Recognized.
in regards to that second topic about using advocacy funds for basic needs at colleges and whatnot, what would the lobby day actions entail, I guess? Like what would we be lobbying for? Would we be trying to change the laws slightly in such a way that the funds can be used towards that, or trying to talk to our government representatives to see if there are workarounds that already exist?
Excellent question. So normally what would happen here, oh, Brett, I see your hands. Maybe you want to answer.
You could start. I'll fill in with anything else.
Okay, so what I know about this is that usually at a lobby day, you're going to be meeting with representatives that act in the state legislature. And so what we would be doing was we would find, and really this is more falls to the legislative analyst and the director of legislative affairs, so to Angie and to Silvia, to find current legislation that is consistent with those kinds of those goals, those aims in mind, and then going to lobby state legislators to support those bills when it comes time to vote, or to make amendments to current bills that would include or expand services that are relevant. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Brett, is there anything you wanted to add?
You nailed it. Typically, students find like you said, a specific bill, AB 1234, right? And or Senate Bill 1234, and you lobby legislators for that specific bill, and you share your narratives, right? So just got you're gonna do with academic senate, same thing, except it's legislators or their staffs. This one, I imagine there's probably not a bill specifically about this, but there might be something on the floor about basic needs, Or then you could go and talk to legislators and say, look, like we have all these budgets and accounts that we can't use, but yet we're hearing from students that basic needs is like one of the main concerns. So that could be how you kind of angle that. That's up to student trustee and student advisory council to kind of finalize that. But yeah, that's kind of how lobby day works. And we can get more into that, but yeah, that's it.
Thank you for that, Brett. Any other questions or discussion on this item? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to 10.3. Is there a motion?
I motion to discuss 10.3 ARC accreditation.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, with the motion made and seconded, this is just a brief update on our visit from Dr. Adam Cart, who recently, oh, Brett, your hand is still up. Is there something you want to say? You're good. Okay. So recently, Dr. Cart visited the board and shared information about the accreditation report. I understand there have been a few minor revisions, small edits to the report, and I was hoping I would have that to share what those changes are with all of you today. Although when I spoke to Dr. Karp earlier this week, it sounds like they're very kind of minor changes. It's not changes in data. It's not really, you know, they're more like the small edit kind of changes you make before you turn in your essay. They're not like, you know, major changes to the report. So I just wanted to create this time on the agenda if anyone had feedback on the report that was shared so that we can kind of organize that feedback and provide it to Dr. Karp. So the floor is open if anyone wants to discuss that report, ask questions, raise concerns, anything of that nature. And if you're wondering about the report, I believe that went out in an email on Tuesday. I would have to check my outgoing email, but I believe that went out on Tuesday. All right, give you just another minute to think about if there's any discussion or questions.
Chair,
Recognized.
I mean, perhaps I'm missing some detail, but it looks like on one of the tables for the modality, and are we talking about content or organization of content?
Either.
On page 30 of the ICER draft, it seems that for one of the sections for fall 2016, 2017, 2018, they don't have any statistics for anything other than not available. And to me, that seems a bit odd. I mean, not available doesn't really make sense as a category. I can share my screen with you if you want to see what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I'm scrolling on mine. Go ahead and actually I might need to enable screen share. Let me make sure that that is on.
Because this is that ICER draft that you sent out, correct?
Correct. Okay, screen share should be enabled. Go ahead.
Right there. What does that mean?
So I know they had done a big like data collection in 2019, and I don't know if maybe they just didn't collect data in the previous years. Brett, do you happen to know anything about this?
Yeah, I think you're right. 2016, I don't think they were thinking about hybrid classes, right? Pre-pandemic. I think 2019 is off, even before the pandemic was when the big shift to online courses began, maybe 2018, but so that might be why they don't have the data for that. But I think you're right, Stacey.
Thank you for that, Brett. That makes a lot of sense. So this is more of a current technology and kind of a shift even in broader society kind of issue. So they didn't have that data. Yeah.
And if you don't mind me inquiring, so what does this 70% represent? Just overall enrollment, or does it represent, like, I don't really understand what that means necessarily.
I'm reading the above text. percentages, my modality exists only for fall onward. As shown, successful course completion percentages. So these are course completion percentages. Okay. So it sounds like maybe they had a 70% pass rate. I believe that's what that would mean for completion percentage. Which that's really about on average.
All right. I was just curious about that. It caught my eye.
Oh, good question. Any other questions or discussion on the ISA report? Great. Seeing and hearing none, we will move on to committee reports. Don't believe we had any committees meet this week. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone. All right. So with that, we will move on to board member reports and announcements. Are there any members of the board who wish to make an announcement, share a report?
Chair.
Recognized.
I just wanted to share that the STEM caucus will have their monthly meeting this Sunday. Even though it is Halloween, it shouldn't be too long, and we'll be discussing a variety of topics, a lot of them relating to scholarships and resume and whatnot, but also we'll be releasing a membership form. That way it's easier for new members to identify that they would like to be a part of the caucus, and then to collect information about the members in terms of what college they're from and what their majors are and whatnot. And then the Phi Theta Kappa Club on campus, we will be having our first general meeting next Friday, November 5th from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. I've posted about it a bit on the Campus Live server and the ARC Mesa server. And that meeting is just open to anyone that's interested, or if you are a current member. So yeah, that is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Brianna. I just noticed that STEM caucus was not on my schedule. It is now, so I won't miss it. Thanks. Any other board members or reports?
Chair.
Recognized.
Hi, everyone. I just want to remind everyone that we are having a few projects that we'll be working on this semester and ongoing next semester for ARC Engineering Club and ARC SHIP. I will go ahead and share the form on the chat right now, and I'll also go ahead and reshare it on our Discord server. But just take a look, even if you're not like a STEM major and you just want to get exposed into like what it's about, or who knows, maybe you will like it and change your major. But if those projects seem interesting to you, please reach out to myself or anyone at ARC Engineering, and we'll be more than happy to show you like the level of commitment entailed into it, the type of self-paced, self-taught, all those kind of logistics. So just wanted to share that out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Sylvia. I keep meaning to reach out to you about if you still have hydroponics kits left, and it's just been really busy. So hopefully over winter break.
Yeah, no worries. There's going to be more announcements regarding that too this upcoming month. So keep an eye out for that, Stacey. I'll keep you in mind.
Thank you so much. Any other board member reports?
Sure.
Recognized.
Sydney reached out to me earlier last week about checking in about the stickers the Design Hub is doing. So I checked in with Randy, who is one of the faculty leads at the Design Hub. He hasn't gotten back to me yet, but he said he will check to confirm whether or not ARC can actually do the printing of the stickers for us. And then if they can, our two options moving forward would either be one, to come up with a design ourselves and give it to them, and then they'll convert it into whatever format necessary to do the printing, or two, we would have like a half-hour meeting with them, a listening session where we just tell them all the ideas that we want to see come to life into a sticker, and then they would assign that to an intern to make that project come to life. So just putting that out there for a future discussion when I get more information and a confirmation about whether or not we can for sure move forward with this project.
Thank you for that update. I appreciate that, Brianna. And shout out to Design Hub for everything they do. All right, any other board member reports? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will now move on to public comment. This time is reserved for members of the public to address the ASB Senate on issues not already appearing on the agenda. A limit of 2 minutes per speaker shall be observed with a maximum of 4 minutes per topic. No discussion is allotted on public comment. The law does not permit any action to be taken nor extended discussion of any items not on the agenda. The ASB Senate may briefly respond to statements made for questions posed. However, for further information, please contact the ASB Senate President for the item of discussion to be placed on a future agenda. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a comment at this time? Seeing and hearing none, if there are no objections, this meeting will be adjourned at 11:57 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. With no objections, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.